We want to see the expertise from this particular school being replicated in schools all over our planet so that the world becomes better for everyone. That is why I congratulate this school for what it does and hope that those listening can take away conclusions as to how they should actually approach their own improvement journeys. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing you in many of the other events this coming week. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for supporting this incredible work, without whom we couldn't have put together this global showcase. Thank you, and I wish you well for this event.
Fast-paced social, economic and technology-driven change is redefining our world. And having a broad range of skills such as creativity and problem solving has become far more important than being able to memorize information. To redefine how our children learn and to empower them for the future, parents, teachers and policymakers must stop overlooking a powerful part of the solution: learning through play. Play is the rocket fuel of child development, and there is a growing body of evidence to support that play is fundamental for children's positive growth and well-being over time. It is also an essential way to foster the skills required to thrive in today's world. The LEGO Foundation aims to build a future in which learning through play empowers children to become creative, engaged, lifelong learners. To do so, we work with a range of partners around the world to change the hearts and minds of all of those who influence children's lives through our programs, research and advocacy, so they can all embrace the transformative power of play. Examples of what we do include making sure that caregivers, practitioners and policymakers understand the importance of play, investigating, testing and scaling new ways to bring play-based learning into homes and schools, using play to help millions of the world's most vulnerable children cope with adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress, or conducting research with some of the world's leading research institutions. Please visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more.
Language connects us all. It's how friendships are formed, ideas are shared, and lessons are learned. Language is how we find understanding and express love. It's how we communicate our successes, both big and small. It lays the groundwork for learning and growth. And for an increasingly diverse student population, it can be the key to achievement in school and beyond. That's why Rosetta Stone Education is dedicated to language and literacy. We offer solutions designed to support teachers and their emergent bilingual students, recognizing and celebrating the knowledge, culture, and languages they bring to our classrooms. Our products are founded on the adaptive blended learning model for individual needs, continuous progress monitoring for better learning outcomes, and culturally responsive pedagogies for more inclusive classrooms. With solutions aligned with proficiency standards, we support language learning while exploring academic subject areas, paving the way to better outcomes. Because for all of us, language is everything.
Dear T4 community, we talk a lot about teachers these days, but we rarely listen to them. Therefore, I am truly excited to join the T4 World Education Week to hear from teachers and school leaders all over the world how we can impact learning together. I'm particularly looking forward to the Global Showcase. 100 schools sharing their expertise and best practices, I believe, will be a huge motivation for other schools around the globe. I'm equally impressed by the T4 Solutions Challenge, its finalists and their solutions to real-world issues in education. This gives me hope that we can, together, turn around education globally. The Jacobs Foundation is a proud supporter of the T4 World Education Week because we share a vision to reimagine learning and education by bringing together the brightest people who understand how children learn. Let's do this together.
What does it mean to let your light shine? I look for something that I like and I say something about it. I share my work with my classmates. Teacher likes my drawing and videos on my iPad. We love to play games. We have fun in our class. This is how we learn. I explore the things that make me curious. I challenge myself to solve problems and to be creative in solving these problems. It's in the redoing and in the remaking that I improve my work and develop this job.
We work and put our ideas together and share what we learned in class. More than that, we also want to share our hopes and dreams with other people. As we search for who we are, we take pride in our roots and take inspiration from what we love to do. We connect with the world to share our stories, and in doing so, we also get to know who we are as one humanity.
We embrace our social responsibility and create opportunities to make a difference. We apply what we have learned and utilize technology to raise awareness for the causes we believe in. We explore the world using local and global lenses and learn to appreciate various perspectives. We go out of our comfort zones to make a stand for nation building.
Together, we let our light shine.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the educators around the world. Welcome to Xavier School's World Education Week Showcase entitled Connected Learning, Leveraging Pedagogy, Relationship, and Technology for Education in a Pandemic. I am Jude Leao, a proud alumnus of Xavier School and her International Programs Coordinator, and I will be your moderator for today's panel. Today's panel will focus on how Xavier School successfully transitioned from the traditional classroom to our online distance learning program, which we call Xavier School e-learning or XSEL. Our panelists will talk about the 5 key tenets we followed in designing our XSEL curriculum. If any of you have questions, you may use the Ask a Question button. Please include your email address so we can send our reply in case we won't be able to answer your question during the event. You may also join the worldwide social media party by adding the hashtags hashtag World Edu Week and hashtag Xavier School World Edu Week on your posts. XSEL was made possible because of Xavier's strong one-to-one program, which has been in place for more than a decade now. To tell us more about how our one-to-one program came to be, we have Xavier School's president, Father Aristotle D. of the Society of Jesus.
Good day to all of you, and thank you for signing up for this session of Xavier School. We are a Catholic Jesuit college prep K-12 school in Manila, the Philippines, and we are approaching our 65th anniversary next year. Today, we are an Apple Distinguished School for more than 4 years. And all our pupils, even before the pandemic, from grade 5 to grade 12, come to school with their own tablet. But we did not achieve this overnight. For more than 10 years, we have been doing one-to-one learning. It is a far cry from my own time as a student in the school in the 80s. I remember a huge Genie computer with cassette tapes to store data. But in the 2000s, in the new millennium, technology was advancing at a great pace. And in the mid-2000s, our key teachers and administrators started talking about how to bring more technology, how to use the internet for education. We had computer labs, but it was only the computer teacher who would bring his or her students to the lab to learn some coding, to learn some office applications. So with those pioneers, we asked the different subject area teachers to bring their students to the computer laboratory and to conduct their classes there using the internet. Information was now at our fingertips. Education was no longer about memorizing facts, but using them to solve real-world problems. It became more and more about critical thinking, about discovering the truth through technology. And so that's how we started. Computer laboratories, different subject area teachers bringing their students there. From there, we graduated to carts. We invested in carts of laptops and later iPads, and any subject area teacher could sign out the cart and bring it to the classroom and use it for technology in education. From there, a few steps later, we had a few classes in each grade level doing it, and then the entire grade level until we reached the point today where all students from grade 5 to grade 12 have their own gadget. All of this would not have been possible if not for the teacher. I described a lot of investment in infrastructure, of making technology available, but that is not enough. The key is really the teacher, empowering the teacher so that the teacher can use technology in the classroom. This means a lot of teacher training, giving them time off so that they can develop new ways of teaching, providing them with training. Today, we have a dedicated office in school for computer education, teacher training, and IT support. And I cannot emphasize the importance of the teacher enough, such that when the pandemic came along, we already had more than 10 years of experience with technology integration. From a strong encouragement to teachers, it became an expectation. Today, it is already one part of the annual performance appraisal. So when now in the time of pandemic, we were able to very quickly redesign our mode of delivery to online. And that is what we are here to share with you today. Xavier School e-learning, or XSEL for short. I thank our school principals and technology integrators for their time in preparing today's sessions, and I hope all of you who have joined us today will benefit from listening to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Ari. With a strong one-to-one program in place, transition into XSEL was made easier. It allowed us to focus more on the essentials in designing a program that is best for all the stakeholders. To get us started in talking about the essentials of our XSEL program, we have the high school principal, Mrs. Teresa Nebres Ladrido. Follow her on Twitter at @TesNLadrido and on Facebook, tes.nebres ladrido.
Thank you very much, Jude. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whichever applies in whatever part of the world you are at this very moment. Whenever I'm asked to speak about online distance learning, I cannot help but begin by talking about a short story we used to read in class when I was still a novice English teacher almost 3 decades ago. So I'm not very young, I'm also not very old, I'd like to believe. The fun they had was a science fiction story written by Isaac Asimov in 1953. And it tells of a story set in 2155 or 2155 when children learned at home through computerized schooling and how they daydreamed about how fun it must have been to study together with other children in a physical school and from an actual teacher or an actual person. This seemed close to fantasy years back, and how my students and I then marveled at the idea of having to learn from the home with the computer as the primary tool for learning. Little did I imagine that I would live to see that day come to life. And so fast forward to 3 decades later, we now find ourselves in a situation similar to the Isaac Asimov story, forced by the coronavirus to transition to online learning. And so we ask the same questions they asked years and years ago. How do inventions, and in our case, the pandemic, change the way we do things? The pandemic has indeed presented many unforeseen and complex challenges to the world, especially in the field of education. However, it has also provided us several opportunities to engage in new ways of teaching and learning, giving us the chance to review past practices and refine them. This paved the way for the Xavier School community to transform old practices into more relevant and engaging ones. Today, let me share with you 3 takeaways that we have learned from our experience of transitioning to online distance learning. First, online distance learning has to be flexible, relevant, and structured. The learner's context is essential in designing the curriculum and learning experience. The curriculum should be revisited and refined to make it relevant to the times. And students need to be provided with a structured learning environment. When we began our Xavier School e-learning or XSEL journey, our primary consideration was our learners. True to our school's Ignatian identity, being a Jesuit school, we put premium on our students' context, their needs, interests, readiness, now more than ever, now during the time of crisis. And in the process of planning our programs, our curriculum for the next school year, we realized that we had to consult parents, students, and teachers through surveys, focus group discussions, and meetings. And hence, mindful of the context of our students, the world, we live in a VUCA world which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Xavier School has adjusted the curricular goals to prioritize key knowledge and skills essential to present times. Our goal was not to cover as much content, but to develop competences and student mastery in essential learning areas. And our goal for this year is really not to cover much, but to learn much and to move our students forward. So it's really to move them forward. Hence, our faculty and staff over our in-service training last May embarked in a rigorous curriculum mapping process. So let me walk you through briefly the curriculum mapping process that our faculty and staff had to undertake. We started by, of course, reviewing and auditing, decongesting and prioritizing our curriculum. And we used the power standards by Reeves and Ainsworth of REAL, which means that when we tried to trim down and assess and refine our curriculum, we thought of the following skills: readiness, what are the prerequisite skills they need for the coming for the year, the next year level, and then endurance, skills useful beyond a single test or a single unit, assessed, which is focused on what are the skills they need because they're going to be tested externally, or it's required by the country or by international standards. And leverage, which is we need to teach them skills valuable not only to a certain discipline, but to multiple disciplines. And after we have decongested and prioritized, we move to trimming down our curriculum further using additional filters of alignment to our school's vision, mission, and goals, and its relevance to current times. Of course, when we talk about relevance, we also try to consider the number of hours we can allot for each subject area, given that we will deliver the lessons or instruction online. And with that, we move to designing the curriculum map. And in the process, of course, synergy and integration happened among the subject areas. And I'd like to believe, and if I may add, the final step, which is probably the most difficult for teachers, is the letting go. Of course, I'm sure you understand, educators, it was not an easy process because teachers are naturally and understandably attached to certain content or certain topics. I can remember when I was teaching years back, I really hard time letting go of teaching diagramming sentences. And of course, because that was already obsolete by the time I started teaching, I eventually had to let go. So more so now when the teachers had to detach themselves from their favorite topics, given only a few months. Okay. And so as I've said, we revisited and refined the curriculum to make it relevant. And as a result, we came up with a set of skills and knowledge carefully selected to make sure that these are relevant to the needs of the learner, will prepare them for higher learning, and are age appropriate. These essential life skills, which are anchored on the school's core values, the 6 C's, we have competence, character, community, compassion, culture, and conscience. They focus on the 21st century literacy skills, numeracy, communication, creativity, critical thinking, social-emotional learning, among other things. So our curriculum are basically anchored on our action goals per subject area, essential questions, and essential understandings. And as much as possible, we don't want to be attached to content. What we want to focus on are concepts and skills. And in terms of assessment, we try our best to move towards creating more rather than giving them tests or assessments where they will only apply or which will only require recall. So if you can see here from the slide that I am sharing, subject action goals in social science, and they are competencies that are required or that we hope we can achieve because these are lifelong skills that they will be able to use even after high school. And with that, I'd like to say that these are examples of the results of our refinement and revision of the curriculum. We tried to make it, contextualize it to the current situation. So for business and management, an example of a topic that we discuss is how are local and international businesses affected by the pandemic, and how do they cope with the crisis? Strategies for online commerce is also very timely and relevant, given that most people now actually shop online. For PE, health, and music, we focus on monitoring of sleep and hydration in the grade school as one example. For science, we have an example of a lesson is observing proper nutrition and following sustainable practices at home, and also taking care of body organs so that we don't easily get infected by virus or by bacteria. And for social science and geography, an example would be effects of COVID in Metro Manila, which is the country's center of trade and industry. All these curriculum guiding principles permeate through the daily structure, school structure, the learning blocks and subjects, as well as the length of time and our other practices in school. So just to show you an example, in the grade school, the academic program has been distilled to the most important and most relevant. Content in the different subject areas have been merged into different learning blocks with focus on language, literacy, and numeracy, and where other subjects like CLE or Christian Living Education are integrated seamlessly. And for other subjects, they alternate in terms of instruction in a week. Music, PE, and health, as well as art, have also been tweaked so that they're taught as life skills rather than academic subjects to promote overall wellness. If you will notice also in the learning block and schedule, there is a specialist block, and this is to provide assistance to students who may need help. Who may need help because they cannot understand perhaps a concept or they find it hard to master a skill. In the high school, while the subjects are taught discretely or in specific disciplines, the frequency of classes are allotted throughout the week. However, if you will notice, there's more frequency in terms of instruction in math, science, and English or communication arts to prepare them for college, as well as to strengthen them in these transdisciplinary skills. Also, computer, PE, music, and arts have been designed to concretely strengthen digital literacy and citizenship, wellness and movement, and creativity and expression, respectively. Similar to the grade school, if you will look at the schedule of the high school, we also have consultation and guidance check-in. Again, this is an opportunity for the boys to seek for assistance or for the guidance counselor to check up on them anytime they wish to. In both the high school and the grade school, if I may add, synchronous and asynchronous sessions have also been carefully designed to augment, extend, and enrich whatever it is that is taught in the synchronous sessions. And these activities are carefully designed to be age appropriate. Now, as I've mentioned, to enable the students to be able to more successfully navigate through online learning, they need to be provided with a structured and predictable learning environment supported by a set of policies, clear, logical, routines, expectations, and guidelines. This will give them a sense of normalcy which they need during this extraordinary situation. As you may have noticed in the schedule I shared with you a while ago, our XSEL classes have a fixed daily set of schedule per grade level, and they feature manageable school hours duration, flexible hours in terms of duration and length of time. So you will see here in the table that there are varied length of school day from kinder to grade 12. Of course, it will depend on the age appropriateness as well as the amount of screen time we want our students to be exposed to. Here, you will see from an example from the grade school, we really have shortened the length of daily schedule, and the usual frequency of subjects or periods has been modified to give way to skill subjects that are essential. Some subjects have also been integrated into other subject blocks, and the class schedule takes into consideration some external factors, such as the availability of the parents to supervise their children at home and the amount of screen time for students. These are really very important things to consider, especially among the young learners. Also, I'd like to add that in terms of how our schedule, our blocks, and our program is structured, we have formation activities and programs that are embedded in the subjects, as well as in the daily schedule. In the afternoon, as I have mentioned, you have there the guidance check-in. We have extracurricular activities like clubs, we have mentoring, and we also have self-management classes. Of course, to help the students also not be overwhelmed, we said that we only want students to have at the most 3 subjects a day so that they can focus on only a few subjects at a time daily, helping them manage their tasks at a more manageable and acceptable pace. To add, in terms of structure and in terms of helping them with the predictability, we also have a common learning and video call platform. This helps the students also in terms of communicating with teachers. So this helps streamline the communication between teachers, students, and also between teachers and parents. We have Schoology for grades 5 to 12, and we have Seesaw for kinder until grade 4. In terms of video call, we use Zoom from K to grade 12. And again, to help our students in terms of predictability and also to help our teachers manage online learning better, we also have a specific set of gadget specification for our learners. As I have mentioned again, students need to be provided with a structured learning environment. And therefore, you will see here that the school really took measures to ensure that the students will have handles for them to be able to more easily navigate through online learning. And we have specific routines, protocols, guidelines, and procedures. I'm sharing here with you only 8 of perhaps 50 or 60 that we have already put in place. So we have specific routines from conducting XSEL classes from start to end, homeschool communication protocols, absences and tardiness, formatting names for LMS, conventions for video calls, so that we are protected from intruders when it comes to those who would like to Zoom bomb or video call bomb our online classes. Then we have protocols for borrowing books online or on-site, who and how to ask for tech help, what to do when the teacher is absent, and even when to publish or post online learning materials. In the case of Xavier School, we post our learning materials every Friday afternoon because this gives the students and the parents an opportunity to prepare for the coming week. It gives them an overview of what will be taken up, and should disruptions in classes take place, students can go ahead with their asynchronous activities. Important again in terms of online learning or in terms of education in general is to always consider the context of the students. And when we consider the context of the students, it is important as well to be responsive to the needs of the learners. So the school took measures to be more flexible in terms of certain policies in school, again, to help the teachers cope better and the students cope better, given that the situation is not normal. So the first is an example of some policies and some guidelines that we have revised and adapted. Is the student status. For example, in the grade school, we would usually have status in discipline and academic. So they have been suspended for the school year, while in the high school, the conditions have been eased for the school year. In terms of tardiness and absences, we have also tried to be compassionate and considerate because we understand that oftentimes students will have problems with, more often than not, they will have problems when it comes to internet connectivity. And of course, there are other factors at home which may be beyond their control. Uniform policy has also been relaxed. So for the grade school, they don't have to come in uniform. They just need to have a collared shirt. In the high school, we have given the students what they want to wear just simple shirts but that are decent and they look presentable. And we have let go of the haircut policy. So if you do visit our classes, you will see that our students have different kinds of hairstyle, which they actually appreciate and enjoy. Also, in addition to making our policies more flexible to be responsive to the needs of the learners, we have suspended, or the grade school has suspended, the giving of honors and awards. This is because they want to focus really more on learning and feedback and mastery. In the high school, however, where extrinsic motivation plays an important role, we will still give recognition to students who have achieved, albeit it's going to be simplified as well. And finally, we have decided to simplify the grading system. So from a 7-point letter grading system, we have simplified our Excel grading system into just 3 levels of achievement, with distinction, pass, and insufficient evidence. The same for high school, with distinction, pass, insufficient evidence. The descriptors are more or less aligned, but of course, they would vary depending on the appropriateness in terms of the student's grade level. And with that, we believe in Savior that really it is important, especially during this time when we deliver or transition to online learning and where we are in a different or extraordinary kind of situation, that our programs are flexible, relevant, but structured. Again, if I may share with you, I'd like to emphasize the 3 takeaways we've learned in terms of our XSEL experience this past 6 months. The learner's context is essential in designing the curriculum and learning experience. The curriculum should be revisited and refined to make it relevant to the times. And students need to be provided with a structured learning experience. And having all these in place will help teachers and will enable teachers to help students to move forward as we educators also continue to learn and from the experience and develop our new and soon best practices. Good afternoon, and I hope that you learned from my sharing.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ladrido. Our next panelist is the EdTech Coordinator for High School, Mr. Christian Bumatayo, who will share about how students are formed during XSEL. Don't forget to follow him on Twitter at @XyanBumatayo.
Good day, fellow educators. I'm Christian, the EdTech Coordinator of Xavier High School, and I'm here to talk to you about our venture into achieving balanced education in this time of pandemic. Maybe before we begin, it's nice to talk about what is balanced education. Well, it's one that concerns itself with the growth of every person's intellectual, emotional, social, physical, artistic, creative, and spiritual potentials. Well, simply put, a balanced education asks for the development of the whole person. This is actually echoed in Xavier School's thrust of developing persons fully alive, endowed with a passion for justice and the skills for development. We see this realized in our academic programs set for achieving excellence and our formation programs that aim for holistic development. When the pandemic hit, however, we were faced with the challenge of keeping our balanced curriculum in a seemingly limiting and limited platform. Ms. Ladrido earlier talked about how our academic unit adjusted and even evolved into facing this new normal. The curriculum has been audited, a new learning management platform is set in place, and a new grading system is implemented. But what about formation? How can we adapt programs that require physical and face-to-face contact by nature and make it suitable for online distance learning? Since this situation is seemingly unprecedented, thinking outside the box became essential. The what if, why not thinking is one we practiced fully. Clearly, to continue providing our students with balanced education, we needed outside the box answers for unprecedented questions. For example, To continue to provide spiritual growth experiences, we ask, why not have daily class prayers over Zoom? Or do examine periods at the end of every week? Furthermore, we ask, why don't we stream daily masses to give members of the Savior community a chance to attend Mass, even if it's just in their homes? These notions seem outrageous at first, with questions like, will it work? Will students take it seriously? But realize that we will never know until we try. In the course of our transition into implementing XSEL, we were constantly encouraged by our administrators to explore and experiment. We were assured of their support, and this encouraged us to take risks. And these risks led us to surprisingly successful programs like our very first online Teacher Appreciation Day concert, a student-led and produced 2-hour concert that featured performances from our students from different levels. This risk provided guidance workshops, college talks, and seminars that are done via Zoom. Our guidance counselors created the virtual guidance office to provide students an easier line of communication. What we saw as limited before, we see as limitless now. Reach became wider and communication made easier. Our Student Activities Program Office surveyed students for their interest and allowed the results to influence the creation of new extracurricular clubs. Now, with almost 40 clubs and committees, students were given choices for clubs that sparked their interest. Now, every Thursday, we have students baking cookies, learning about Japanese culture, or exercising towards their goal to a fitter body. Simply put, in this time of transition and adjustment, a balanced education becomes all the more important. As what is stated in our XSEL, while students need to develop academic skills, knowledge, and understanding, providing them guidance, support, and mentoring should be given equal emphasis. Securing their general well-being should be given utmost importance. Thank you very much for listening and hope you learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rumatayo. How do we protect our students during XSEL? Our next speaker, Mr. Francis Jim Toscano, the grade school EdTech coordinator, will share how students are kept safe and secured during online learning. Follow him on Twitter at Jim Toscano and LinkedIn, Francis Jim Toscano.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Francis Jim Toscano, and I'll be talking about how XSEL, or the online distance learning program of Xavier School, is sustained to become a safe and secure environment for our students, teachers, and for the whole school community. As we know, online distance learning means opening the door to the wonderful, World Wide Web, or the internet. All interactions, information, learning resources, and communication are accessible via the internet. In order to ensure that XSEL is safe and secure, Xavier School continued to implement policies on data privacy, as well as map out new practices that keep the online environment conducive for better learning and teaching. Privacy and child protection continue to be important concerns that the school takes seriously in this new environment. Even before the school closures, or before the remote learning started, Xavier School has been in the forefront of upholding data privacy and child protection. A few years ago, Xavier School came out with official documents and policies that were immediately implemented to ensure that all data about every member of the school community is protected and kept in confidence. A series of seminars and workshops were conducted to ensure that teachers, staff, and administrators knew what were expected of them, their responsibilities, as well as rights concerning their personal data. In relation to this, the call for child protection was naturally extended with the activities that are being done in the online classes, whether synchronously or asynchronously. Data privacy and child protection policies continue to be implemented. Teachers treat all student data, such as information and even assessments, being submitted with confidence and not shared with other people. The school has evaluated and chosen learning management systems such as CISO and Schoology to house this crucial information. Part of the decision-making process was to look into the platform's alignment and compliance to existing student data and protection policies in the Philippines and even around the world. The school also has protocols on getting and using student photos or videos, which require the use of media release form that should have been signed by parents or legal guardians. Another way to ensure safety and security for XSEL in the school is the use of appropriate online tools, apps, and platforms. Appropriate online tools, apps, and platforms have been evaluated for effective, efficient, and safe learning and teaching. Before the online classes have started, the school created EdTech teams for both grade school and high school. The EdTech teams were the school's EdTech champions, teachers who are leading the charge in using technology tools in the classroom and helping other teachers to learn how to use them for online classes. One aspect of the team's responsibilities is to evaluate online apps or online tools that will be used and recommended in the various grade levels. To evaluate these online apps or tools, the EdTech team focused on the following criteria. First, efficiency of use, effectiveness in supporting or in the achievement of learning outcomes, developmental appropriateness, especially for the young learners, and even looking deeply into security features. Developmental appropriateness was deeply considered to ensure that the online apps and tools being used, especially for the young learners, are simple enough for them to navigate and use during online classes. In the end, the idea was to keep things simple and easy to use so that teachers and students do not spend too much time working on the ins and outs of the apps, but to allot more time in learning as well as building relationships and connection in the class despite the distance. Another way of ensuring safety and security in the online classes in Xavier School was the use of security protocols and measures for our online Zoom classes, especially for the synchronous sessions. This was an essential and challenging aspect of conducting online classes. We are all aware of Zoom bombings and even Zoom raids. Zoom raids is when students themselves post private information about their Zoom meeting number and even password on Twitter or Facebook or other social media platform, and just invite random people to come into their Zoom classes and mess things up. To combat this, we have put up measures that would help teachers manage their online classes better. Some of the practices that we have done was, the first one was to use authenticated accounts for student login. In creating authenticated accounts, especially for the young learners, parents were involved to set them up for their children. Another important thing, and this is a non-negotiable aspect of conducting online classes, we use waiting rooms. So we enabled waiting rooms to filter incoming participants, especially the unwanted or unnecessary ones. Another thing that we have done, which is very convenient also, was to create naming patterns or conventions for additional information or easier identification for teachers. One of the best things that I think we have done for XSEL is to have teacher companions or assists to help manage students and monitor Zoom waiting room. What are teacher companions or assists? These are extra pair of eyes that are working behind the scene. So we have a main teacher teaching the usual subject, but we have an extra teacher behind the scene, not a teacher working discreetly behind the scene, and putting in effort to monitor who's coming in or going out of the online classes. So you have an extra pair of eyes to make sure that there's safety and security. But at the same time, they are also very, very helpful because they get to spot students who are not engaged or who are off task. They also discreetly help students who have technical problems when they're doing online classes. In the end, what we've learned is that Excel is not simply about using online tools, but more importantly, it is about sustaining an environment that is safe and secure for better learning and teaching. Excel is not about jumping to the best tools or to the tools that currently available right now, but it is about ensuring that students, teachers, and even parents are confident enough to maintain or to sustain a better conducive learning that learning and teaching for everyone in the school community. And that is for safety and security aspect of the Excel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Toscano. Since we are all in the comforts of our homes, how can we ensure collaboration among our students and with their teachers? How can parents or guardians help supervise younger students during Excel? Mrs. Jane Cacacho, our grade school principal, will share what collaboration efforts have been placed and how crucial the roles of stakeholders are in Excel. Follow her on Facebook, Jane Cacacho, and Twitter at JC Cacacho.
The success of teaching from a distance is highly dependent on the cooperation of the students and their families with the school. And this is seen in their participation in class and compliance with school requirements and policies. However, cooperation is not something that the school can automatically expect. Getting students to cooperate to make learning happen is not easy, especially when teachers teach from a distance and only through a gadget. The success of Excel was in part due to Xavier School's efforts in actively soliciting the cooperation of the students and their parents. And so right from the beginning, even before the school year started, we took proactive steps to earn the trust of the parents so that they would first enroll their children at Xavier School. Recognizing that trust is more easily given when you know what you are getting into, Xavier immediately went on to work on the specifics of running an online distance program during the school break. The curriculum, program, structures mentioned by the earlier speakers were being planned and finalized even before the teachers reported for in-service training. But what is worth mentioning at this point is that these new structures were communicated early to the parents. Parent orientation sessions, usually scheduled just before the opening of classes, were held way earlier, even before enrollment started. This bold step of announcing what the school year would look like invited trust by letting the parents see that the school had a plan and knew what it was doing. Earning trust did not end with getting the numbers for enrollment. We wanted to ensure that the trust initially given during enrollment would be sustained so that it would translate into compliance, if not cooperation, throughout the school year. We did this by building a strong and meaningful relationship with the homes through active collaboration with the parents and students, and the creation of support structures that will aid those who need additional help. Active collaboration requires a lot of listening, considering, and adjusting. Finding out the various situations in the homes allowed us to contextualize our policies. The high school fielded a survey among the parents prior to the opening of classes and to the students in the middle of the school year to make sure the offerings are relevant and appropriate. The quarantine has removed the teachers from the physical classroom and instead has given the parents front seat to classroom action, especially in the early and the primary grades. Given these situations, it was crucial to seek the parents' feedback regarding the implementation of Excel. In the grade school, surveys are regularly fielded to parents, We solicit comments regarding what parents think should be stopped, continued, or started in Excel. The survey results have allowed us to see what is happening in the homes, behind the scenes ongoings that we normally will not be privy to, and to consequently adjust our ways of proceeding. The surveys also generated helpful suggestions that we otherwise might not have thought of. We also conducted focus group discussions among parents to solicit other data and detailed descriptions that the surveys may have missed. This constant communication and collaboration with parents made them feel that they are truly the school's partner in their son's education and formation. Feedback from students is also gathered and considered. Students like being asked about how they find schooling, especially when they see how their answers have resulted in improvements in the program. Aside from data gathering, the exercise serves as incidental lessons to develop assertiveness and honesty in the students. XSEL is uncharted territory for both students and parents, and not all parents feel confident to assist their child. Given this, to support the homes, we consciously organized workshops for adults to equip them with the tech skills needed in class. We also offer sessions on parenting during the pandemic, since much of the motivating and monitoring work now fall on the parents. The provision of support to families also come in the form of opening varied channels of communication and the speed with which we address the concerns sent to us. The sense of urgency with which we treat parent communication helps assuage the fears and anxieties of the skeptical and sometimes even insecure parents. The unique context of each family may contribute to inequity in academic performance. This is why Xavier School has paid much attention to setting up academic and psychological support structures that might be needed by students. In the grade school, aside from the simplified grading system, academic support is given in the form of second and third chances. Students who get a grade of IE or insufficient evidence are given an opportunity to take a retest. The retest policy is an academic support that sends a message that the school is willing to wait for students who might have gotten that IE because of a difficult situation. For example, minimal adult assistance, poor internet connection, or maybe the lack of an ideal device. Academic support is also given through additional instruction for students who do not immediately get the lesson. Students who are observed to be having a hard time are invited to meet the teacher for an extra encounter. This service is free and ensures that no child is left behind despite his circumstances. Psychological support is also offered through the various formation programs and activities designed by the guidance, campus ministry and service, and student activity program offices. Aside from ensuring the holistic development of the students, these formation programs serve as additional touch bases between the students and their teachers. After all, a healthy and meaningful relationship between the teacher and the student is in itself a support structure that students can rely on during difficult times. Inasmuch as teachers too are new to Excel, Xavier School acknowledges that the faculty is also one big group that needs assistance. Given this, training sessions were scheduled. Online resources were curated and made available. Group chats were formed to answer immediate queries, and partners were assigned to teachers who needed more hand-holding. Equipping teachers with the skills and conveying to them our trust were key to helping unleash their newfound potential for online teaching. XSEL is an environment made up of interwoven systems, continuously made better by the collaboration between the home and the school. XSEL is also an environment of relationship among stakeholders who know that they are valued and who appreciate that their inadequacy will be initially met with support rather than censure. XSEL is successful because it is collaborative and supportive. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cacacho, and to all our panelists for sharing about the XSEL journey. We will now answer two questions from the participants. The first from Anonymous. Do you allow students to turn their video off during synchronous sessions? If yes, how do you ensure focus/attention and student engagement? Mrs. Ladrido of the high school will take this question.
Okay, thank you, Jude. In terms of turning the video on during synchronous sessions, it's part of our protocol that the moment they enter the Zoom call, which is the platform. Zoom is the platform we use for synchronous sessions and activities. They need to automatically turn on their camera. Should there be a concern, or should the student not, if he, for example, cannot turn on his camera because of internet connectivity or other reasons, he has to inform his subject teacher, the teacher companion, and also the Office of the Disciplinary Services, just to ensure that, primarily to check if he's okay, and then second, just to check if there are other things that he will be missing, and therefore we can provide assistance after.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ladrido. Our next question from Neha Kiran. What steps have been taken by your school to ensure that the absentees are updated on the missed information or concepts? Ms. Jane Cacacho of the grade school will take this question.
Thank you for that question. So two things. Number one, in the grade school, on a Friday afternoon prior to the succeeding school week, we already send the parents all the instructional materials that they will need for that particular week. So someone who will get sick will immediately have access to whatever materials will be used in classes. 4 sessions where the ensuing discussion will be crucial to the understanding of particular concepts. The teacher also records the session and can make this available upon request to parents. Now, we also have our teacher assistants or the companions take note of the attendance, and the attendance is collected, and this is monitored by the teachers. Someone who has not been to class for a number of sessions will automatically be emailed by the teacher, not to, just to check how the boy is, whether there's a problem, whether we need to offer additional support. And in that conversation, we try to see if an invitation to the specialist block or the additional academic assistance is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cacacho. And thank you once again to all our panelists, Father Ari D, Mrs. Ladrido, Mr. Bumatayo, Mr. Toscano, and Mrs. Cacacho. Let me close by sharing with you again the 5 key tenets we followed in designing XSEL. XSEL is structured. It should provide a structured learning environment. It is flexible and relevant. The curriculum should be audited to make it relevant to the times, and students' context is essential in a learning environment. XSEL is balanced. The holistic formation of the students will ensure their general well-being. It is safe and secure. Privacy and child protection continue to be important concerns that the school should take seriously in this new environment. Lastly, XSEL is collaborative and supportive. Collaboration between the different stakeholders of the school will ensure the success of any program. Thank you everyone for joining Xavier School's Showcase, Connected Learning, Leveraging Pedagogy, Relationship and Technology for Education in a Pandemic. A recording of today's session will be made available soon. We will keep you posted. This has been your moderator, Jude Leao. Stay safe, Luciat looks, and let your light shine. Please stay tuned as we show one last video from Mr. Vikas Pota of the T4 team.
Hello, my name is Vikas Pota. The reason why we're organizing this global showcase for world education is we believe that schools have incredible expertise in making sure that learning outcomes improve. Given the state of the world, we want to see the expertise from this particular school being replicated in schools all over our planet so that the world becomes better for everyone. That is why I congratulate this school for what it does and hope that those listening can take away conclusions as to how they should actually approach their own improvement journeys. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing you in many of the other events this coming week. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for supporting this incredible work, without whom we couldn't have put together this global showcase. Thank you, and I wish you well for this event.
Fast-paced social, economic and technology-driven change is redefining our world. And having a broad range of skills such as creativity and problem solving has become far more important than being able to memorize information. To redefine how our children learn and to empower them for the future, parents, teachers and policymakers must stop overlooking a powerful part of the solution: learning through play. Play is the rocket fuel of child development, and there is a growing body of evidence to support that play is fundamental for children's positive growth and well-being over time. It is also an essential way to foster the skills required to thrive in today's world. The LEGO Foundation aims to build a future in which learning through play empowers children to become creative, engaged, lifelong learners. To do so, we work with a range of partners around the world to change the hearts and minds of all of those who influence children's lives through our programs, research and advocacy, so they can all embrace the transformative power of play. Examples of what we do include making sure that caregivers, practitioners and policymakers understand the importance of play, investigating, testing and scaling new ways to bring play-based learning into homes and schools, using play to help millions of the world's most vulnerable children cope with adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress, or conducting research with some of the world's leading research institutions. Please visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more.
Language connects us all. It's how friendships are formed, ideas are shared, and lessons are learned. Language is how we find understanding and express love. It's how we communicate our successes, both big and small. It lays the groundwork for learning and growth. And for an increasingly diverse student population, it can be the key to achievement in school and beyond. That's why Rosetta Stone Education is dedicated to language and literacy. We offer solutions designed to support teachers and their emergent bilingual students, recognizing and celebrating the knowledge, culture, and languages they bring to our classrooms. Our products are founded on the adaptive blended learning model for individual needs, continuous progress monitoring for better learning outcomes, and culturally responsive pedagogies for more inclusive classrooms. With solutions aligned with proficiency standards, we support language learning while exploring academic subject areas, paving the way to better outcomes. Because for all of us, language is everything.
Dear T4 community, we talk a lot about teachers these days, but we rarely listen to them. Therefore, I'm truly excited to join the T4 World Education Week to hear from teachers and school leaders all over the world how we can impact learning together. I'm particularly looking forward to the Global Showcase. 100 schools sharing their expertise and best practices, I believe, will be a huge motivation for other schools around the globe. I'm equally impressed by the T4 Solutions Challenge, its finalists and their solutions to real-world issues in education. This gives me hope that we can, together, turn around education globally. The Jacobs Foundation is a proud supporter of the T4 World Education Week because we share a vision to reimagine learning and education by bringing together the brightest people who understand how children learn. Let's do this together.
What does it mean to let your light shine? I look for something that I like and I say something about it. I share my work with my classmates. Teacher likes my drawing and videos on my iPad. We love to play games. We have fun in our class. This is how we learn. I explore the things that make me curious. I challenge myself to solve problems and to be creative in solving these problems. It's in the redoing and in the remaking that I improve my work and develop this job.
We work and put our ideas together and share what we learned in class. More than that, we also want to share our hopes and dreams with other people. As we search for who we are, we take pride in our roots and take inspiration from what we love to do. We connect with the world to share our stories, and in doing so, we also get to know who we are as one humanity.
We embrace our social responsibility and create opportunities to make a difference. We apply what we have learned and utilize technology to raise awareness for the causes we believe in. We explore the world using local and global lenses and learn to appreciate various perspectives. We go out of our comfort zones to make a stand for nation building.
Together, we let our light shine.